Hey everyone, how's it going? So this is a Plaid Model X and I will be doing a tutorial, 25 minutes roughly, so lengthy video, but it will describe every step of how to install a auto powering front from Handshow. This is a Plaid Model X refresh, as you can see there, with the Pilot Sport Cup wheels, tires in the back, 22-inch, 265 in the front and 285s in the rear. There's a brief look of the interior. This is a 6-seater black on black with the carbon fiber trim. Very nice. There are some misalignment trim, but we'll save that for another video. So right into the installation process. What you want to do is open up the Frunk and take off this panel, the top panel there. For some reason, it came off fairly easy. Very concerning, but hopefully Tesla will fix those clips. Then remove this emergency latch cover, and you just have to pry on the top. There's 3 clips, and then pull out the wire. Well, not pull out the wire, but unclip the wire with a small flathead screwdriver. Then next, the difference with this Model X installation of the auto front, you do have to remove this felt. How to do this is pry your finger in between the rubber stripping and the felt itself, or the lining covering. And then you just pry all the way around, just like that. Don't worry about it bending it. It will fall into place later. And then you just lift it straight up. And then place this somewhere safe. Now move on to remove the 10mm bolt underneath the actual plastic tray. So you can save this for the next step, but just showing you there's 2 bolts down there so you don't forget. And then start removing the panels on the right side where the struts is located. You want to pry this up with a little force. If you have a pry tool, use that. If not, your finger will just do just fine. It does take a little effort, and be careful not to drop any clips while you're pulling up the side covers there. And it just popped right out. Then now do the same for the driver's side. Again, start from where the struts is at. There's a couple tough clips there, so be careful not to drop those when you prying open. And the rest comes off fairly easy. And after you got that up, work on the front cover between the front tray and the bumper. And to lift that up, again, just work your way around. Careful not to bend the actual trim. It's very flimsy, but it does have easy clips that goes on and off. Now, just to show you a few bolts here, these are the same 10mm bolts that you need to remove, but before you can remove that, you actually have to remove this rubber stripping. There is no glue to this rubber stripping, so it just comes right off. And then now, using an impactor, or if you don't have one, you can use a screwdriver with a 10mm bolt socket to remove it. So there's 2 on the right side, and there's 2 on the left side, as well as 2 in the rear and 2 in the front near the bumper, for a total of 8, including the 1 on the bottom of the tray. So now I'm removing the 2 in the front. It's very easy to remove without impactor, so don't think that you have to have the electronic impactor. You can just use a regular screwdriver and then just lift it straight up. Careful not to bump any of the bumper or side panel, and then just place that in a safe corner somewhere. So just checking out the power struts. This looks to be very similar to that of the Model Y. So we'll go ahead and start taking off the struts first. So with the Model X, removing one side of the struts, you don't need anyone to support the actual hood or frunk itself. But if you have somebody, ideally have that person hold it up for you. You will eventually need somebody to hold it once you install the Hansshow struts on the left, and then you remove the OEM struts on the right, or vice versa. So just have somebody handy to hold up the hood, or you can use your head to hold it up if you have no other help. Ideally, if you have a long cardboard box, you can use that for support, or a long stick. So once you remove the OEM struts, you actually have to install this mount bracket, and this is a critical point. So that small bracket that I'm showing here is labeled right and left, and right and left from when you're sitting in the car, not when you're facing the car, okay? So don't mess that up. So if it indicates left, that's the driver's side, and right, that's the passenger side. And you need a 13mm wrench to remove the actual nut itself first from Tesla, and then install the actual Hansshow mount clip or mount bracket. So they do provide you with that silver screw, and you do need a torque bit to be able to tighten that. So go ahead and tighten it with your fingers first, and then get the torque bit there. And that is a T45, I believe. Yeah. And then just tighten that with a wrench or even with a screwdriver. So you don't need any fancy tools for this. I just happen to have it, and it's just make the whole process a lot quicker. So now, after you got that mount bracket from Hansshow tightened, go ahead and install the actual struts from Hansshow. Just snap it in with a little force with the wires facing on the bottom. And now we're going to do the same thing for the passenger side. So you will see the same process, but on the right side. So again, get a flathead screwdriver for the OEM struts. Probably open. This is the part where I'm supporting it with my head, but I do have somebody holding it for me now. And then take the bottom off with the same amount of pressure, simultaneously putting the flathead screwdriver and pushing it outward. So again, with the 13mm wrench, remove this nut ball, the OEM screw, whatever you want to call this. Remove this where the struts was originally attached to, the OEM struts. So you want to remove this counterclockwise, okay, to open. So lefty is where you want to go on both sides to unscrew this bolt. And then once you loosen it or you break it, just go ahead and use your fingers to loosen it all the way and take it out. Keep it in a safe place in case you need it in the future. So 2 struts that came with the car and 2 of these bolts you want to save. Now go ahead and install the Hansshow mount bracket. Again, the screw face towards the interior of the car, and then the other bracket that curves face forward, facing the bumper. And this is the right side, label R. So you want to hand tighten it with their screw. And then once you fully hand tighten it, you will go ahead and grab that torque screwdriver and tighten it up. So again, I'm going to use this torque bit, attach it to my wrench, and just go ahead and tighten this up. So it's supposed to align with the frame of the vehicle right there, so you can't really mess this up. So once you feel enough tension, don't over torque it. Go ahead and install the Hansshow power struts. Again, with the wires facing down, snap in with a little force. You can start from the bottom and then push the front hood a little bit up and then snap it in. And now it will hold the front up without any support. Okay, so next we will be removing the latch itself. So you will still need that 10mm socket. You can use the screwdriver or an impactor to do this. But before you do, make sure you have a permanent marker in blue or some painter's tape. I like to mark where the actual lock mechanism is currently lining up. So therefore, when I install the bracket with the Hansshow lock mechanism, I don't have to actually adjust it as much, if at all, because I know exactly where the original OEM lock mechanism was currently locked into place. So you want to use 2 tapes on each side, one to show you how far left and how far right it should be, and the bottom one shows you how high and how low you want this lock mechanism to be tightened after you install the Handshow. So after you got the tape on, go ahead and unbolt the 2 10mm. Again, don't drop the screw down because you won't be able to find it. Just make sure you hang on to it tight and then place the screw, the 10mm screw, somewhere safe. Next, you want to remove the spring. You can do it by using your hands, and I've seen some people use a plier. You don't really need that. You just have to unlatch it from the bottom. And then once you take out that spring, go ahead and place the Hansshow additional lock bracket with the emergency latch that I show here. This is like a hook. Just attach it to that silver piece where that spring originally was locked into. So you want to hang it down like that, just like that, and then you're going to flip this Handshow bracket around after you put the spring back on. So go ahead and put that spring back on. Again, place it in the same position. You want to lock it on the top first, where you actually place the actual hook itself, the emergency latch hook. Place it in there, and then use your thumb to press the bottom down. That's the only way you can do it without an actual plier. So don't try to take it out from the top, take it out from the bottom. And then with the Handshow additional bracket, this is the lever to initiate the soft close. You want to place that in front, behind, on the other side of the spring. So once you have it lined up, and you have the slot where you place the 10mm screw in, go ahead and line it up with where you have the tape. So just have it within that proximity of where the bottom tape and the right and left tape is at, and go ahead and screw the 10mm bolts in. So hand screw it in first and leave a little room so you can adjust it before you fully tighten it up. So again, do everything by hand with this. You don't want to over tighten it. You want to make sure it fits, it aligns, and it's within where you place the painter's tape. Once you feel comfortable, go ahead and get the impactor or the screwdriver and start tightening up slowly. Again, adjust while you're slowly tightening it. Once you feel comfortable, go ahead and tighten it all the way. Okay, next we want to remove the tow hook cover. So in some of the refresh, I've seen it hidden behind next to this air vent. Some is behind the bumper, but the newer, latest Model X, at least the more recent build, the tow hook is actually hidden behind this black cover here. So on the driver's side. So if you're wondering where your tow hook is, that's where it's at. And then you want to fish this out. So you have a fish line. Handshow don't provide the fish line. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But if you have one handy, I would have that ready. And then just run the fish line from the frunk to the tow hook open area. And then after you got it out from the bumper, go ahead and tape up the emergency latch. It's a yellow hook that attached to your Handshow kit. So once you tape that up, go ahead and fish that through. Record this one. Pull out. So the purpose of this is in case your 12-volt battery dies or whatever reason why you can't open up your frunk, this is a manual lever or hook that once you pull, you will be able to open up your frunk in case if there's a failure with the mechanism. So this usually does not happen unless your 12-volt battery die, but with the new lithium battery that comes with the newer Tesla, you probably won't have this issue, if at all. But this is a backup system in case if, for whatever reason, your 12-volt battery gets disconnected or it fails on you. then you can still open up the frunk, pulling on this yellow hook. Then just hide the hook behind this cover. Make sure you zip tie it to the actual cover or wherever the cover hook is at, and you're good to go. So the next big step is to find the connection to your 12 volt. It is actually hidden behind this fluid. Looks like steering wheel fluid or whatever fluid. Don't quote me on that. It's behind there on the driver's side. So there's a little red cap. It's hidden back there, so you really have to look, but it's there. So pull up that cover. So I'm going to show you this close up. When the cover's on, that's how it looks like. It's a plus sign, and you just lift it straight up. It does have a line to hold it so you won't drop it. And then using the Hansshow kit, you want to attach the black wire with the fuse box. So not where that white connector is at, it's actually this black wire. But for this kit, because it doesn't have the newer adapter yet, I heard that is coming in a few months, you're gonna have to strip this wire. So this is the only manual customization that you have to do. You have to strip this wire, either using a scissor or a strip wire cutter, and get about 3 to 4 inches of actual wire, because you will be wrapping this around that red socket where your 12 volt battery is at. And don't worry, you don't have to turn off the power of your vehicle. Just go ahead and wrap it around and then place that cover on top. It will secure this wire on that red positive terminal. Again, don't attach this wire to the Hansshow actual computer yet. So this is a standalone for now, so nothing's gonna happen to you if you still have the car on. So now I'm doing is wrapping it around that red terminal of the 12 volt. Again, this wire has a fuse box and so forth, so it protects the actual Hansshow kit. After you have it wrapped around, you place the cap back on. Go ahead and plug in the computer to the 12 volt connector. And that is it. Now you have power to the Hansshow computer. So now you will be plugging in the actual computer to the wire that attach to the power. So go ahead and lock in the computer, and you will hear a beep, or you might not hear a beep at this point. But make sure that your black negative ground wire has already been attached to one of your actual ground wire bolts. So just find a ground wire that your car is currently connected to. There's one on the left and one on the right side. Just attach that before you actually plug in the computer. So that's the part that I didn't really clearly show there, but just make sure you ground the wire first. And next step, you want to reset the lock mechanism. And how you do this is you want to press on the actuator on the passenger side, towards the passenger side. So I'm fiddling with this, but what you want to do is really just pull on the lever right there. Just pull it towards the right side. And that will reset the lock mechanism. And then once you hear a click, you go ahead and press down to reopen the lock mechanism. And we'll show that again later in the video, so stay tuned for that. But that's a key step to making sure that it latches correctly once you first activate the auto front. So again, right there, what you want to do is pull on that lever on the passenger side and then pressing down to unlock the lock mechanism, just like that. And that is it. So everything else, just make sure you already plug everything in and it should work. So now is the key point in finding a location for the computer box. And the best place I found was on the driver's side where the impact beam is. push it all the way down there with the wire connecting facing down, so you won't have any water damage in the future. It will just leak out. So I didn't really go into details on connecting each wires, but it's really just plug and play. You cannot make a mistake. So make sure all the wires are plugged. There shouldn't be any wire not plugged to anything. And it described that in the manual. So if you get confused, just follow the color-coded wire. And that is it to install the Power Frunk for the Model X refresh. This is the same process for the Model S refresh. So you're interested in either kit and you want to do it yourself, I would set about 2 to 3 hours to install this. If it's your first time, it might take you about 3.5 to 4 hours. So definitely half a day or half a day of a weekend. Okay, so once you test the auto frunk is functioning normally, go ahead and place the heart tray back in, and you want to use all that 10mm screws that you took out. Go ahead and use the impactor to tighten up all those screws. So 2 on the bottom of the tray, and there's 6 on top around the tray, 2 on each side. And just make sure that the wiring to the emergency latch cover is present and you're able to reach it. If you're not, you're gonna have to remove the tray to pull it out, but make sure it's available there for you to be able to plug in after you have everything installed. So just testing it out at this point, looks good. So what I'm gonna do next is go ahead and place the actual cargo or the front lining back in. So again, straight down, and now you can get your weather stripping. Go ahead and put that install around each corner, and work slowly with this because the actual weather stripping, the bottom, it goes in between the actual plastic cover and the felt lining or the soft felt lining. So work your way around it, make sure it's evenly stretched, enough length to cover the whole front, because you don't want to over pull it or under pull it, or else you can have some creases later that you won't be able to fix. If you have a pry tool, I would recommend getting that and just sliding it across around the rubber stripping. That will make the whole process a lot faster and easier and less stress on your fingers. So one thing about installing this frunk is that you want to make sure you have all the tools available. Again, your socket, the right size, but if you have a regular toolbox, make sure that you have all the torque screw. Once you have that available, you can start the whole process, because if you're starting halfway through and you realize you don't have all the tools, that will be a problem. When you order the kit, the manual do show you what tools you need, and just make sure you purchase all those tools before you start the installation. And now we're ready to place the cover panel on the right side and the left side. Again, it goes straight down. Make sure it snaps into place. And if any of the clips fell off earlier, make sure you reattach those. For the front cover, one side goes under the panel, the fender panel, and make sure that goes under and then over, just like what I'm doing right there. And again, it falls into place fairly easy, a lot easier than the previous Model X. Final touch is this back cover where your windshield wipers is at. And that is it. One thing I didn't notice about removing this is the HEPA filter, that huge HEPA filter that used to be in the front there, is now hidden. So it's interesting how Tesla have changed that design. Makes it a lot easier to install the auto frunk for the refresh. So just double checking, hitting all clips in. Don't slam your wrists or your fists onto those clips. Make sure it's aligned before you do that. And the final piece is the emergency latch cover. And here it is with the auto frunk for the Model X Plaid. Same installation process for the Model X long range. So remember to subscribe if you're interested in getting this kit. The link is in the description of this video as well as in the comment. Thanks for watching. Catch you all next time. And remember, use the promo code to save you some money. Catch you all next time.